I think that's something too, as technology and these channels evolve and add new features. We've talked about that as a MEAP advisory. We could literally be meeting all the time and revising the code all the time. So it's a good discussion point because we've just started tackling that at McDonald's as well in terms of what that means for us from a disclosure standpoint. So.
And that's one to start with the spirit of the guidelines and work backwards from that. Is this contrary to the spirit of what the FTC is trying to accomplish? What they're trying to accomplish is protect consumers from being deceived.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to cycle back to a slightly earlier comment about the concept of people having two accounts, one that's a work account and then one that's their personal account. Is there a difference in what employees' practices should be between those two accounts and what we should be advising them to do? Or since you're affiliated with a company, is it really just the same thing? And you would need to follow the same best practices for both types of accounts?
I think it's the latter. I think, the example we gave where you've got employees of the agency tweeting about the Green Watch launch on their own personal Twitter feed, there's a compliance issue there or a disclosure issue there, and our recommendation is that they disclose pound client or pound EMP, pound employee.
And the same would apply for Green Watch's employees as well.
Personal Facebook pages, things like that, you still want to.
So I just did a social media policy at my company, and my rule, and social media is so libertarian, it's hard to have rules. But my rule is to say, if you're going to tweet or post anything relevant to the organization, you need to, the minimum threshold is to say you work at Eloqua in your profile. If you are going to tweet about beer and we don't make beer, you don't need to disclose you work for the company. But the minute you begin tweeting about business relevant content, then suddenly you're kind of kicked over a tripwire and you need to be prominent in your bio. If you don't want to put it in your bio for whatever reason, then you need to have hashtag employer or hashtag client in your tweet. So that's the way I've tackled it as a matter of corporate policy.
Great, thanks.
I'm going to update my Facebook summary about me saying, I work for USA Today. Anything you read on this page does not represent the views of USA Today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's less of a MEAP issue and more of your employment issue, but exactly.
It's a little bit more general, but who would you say from a brand perspective is kind of the gold standard on setting a corporate policy? What brands have you seen or have you come across that have put together what you consider to be a good policy when it comes to this?
Me, no.
McDonald's.
There's a lot out there, and I will tell you, personally speaking, we are just about ready to release, using the WOMA guide, using the FTC guidelines. We're about ready to release some revised guidelines, some new guidelines out to our corporate employees. So I've seen a lot. We've used a lot. Dell, I know, has some very good policies that we've taken a look at. A lot of the technology companies, because they've been so far into this space already, that we've used their guidelines as models. Some of them are more forward-thinking than we were wanting to be. But from a consumer brand standpoint, I think a lot of us are in that evolution stage right now. But I would definitely look at some of the technology companies like Dell that have got some good guidelines in place.
Quick follow-up question to that too. With these brands kind of adopting this and these policies becoming a little bit more forefront, I guess you could say, do you feel that this is going to be more inhibiting of brands in terms of how they market this space, or do you think it's going to provide more opportunities? Meaning, is it going to get, over the next couple of years, is it going to get so much stricter that brands are really going to have to look at how they're marketing today versus how it may look 2 years from now in the same space?
I think I found the more time I spend in this space, that word of mouth is like a social media, it's like a behavioral jack in the box. I'm consistently surprised by the unlikely outcome or the unexpected outcome of a particular issue. Let me give you an example. Way back when the issue of disclosure first came to the forefront, a company I worked for then, full disclosure, we published a report. We studied the spread of word of mouth among members of our network and found that when disclosure occurred, word of mouth spread further, faster. Now, that was counter to conventional wisdom at the time, which said once you disclose, the curtain has been drawn, wrestling's really fixed, and it just sort of stops, right? You're going to blunt the spread of word of mouth. Turned out, the behavioral jack-in-the-box, turned out that it really triggered word of mouth. There's a number of theories on why, but I was really surprised by that outcome. So just because the rules may be, I don't know if the rules are going to change, but the attention paid to those rules may be ratcheted up a notch, doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to blunt the reach. I think it's entirely possible that an unexpected outcome will emerge, and that through creative disclosure, you'll be able to actually kind of push wind behind your social media sail.
What do you think about that? What kind of behavior you think is going to change?
To be honest with you, I'm kind of on the fence with it. I can see it going both ways. As you said before, we're guidelines, not laws. And once you start to kind of really ratchet these in and rein everything in, it's going to allow and disallow brands to play in different areas. And I